Damien, it is great to have you here. Excited to learn more about what you're building. Share who you are and what ChatORG is.
Yeah, thanks for giving me the opportunity to show what we're building. So my name's Damien Tanner. I've previously started 4 SaaS companies, and I love building SaaS software. And most recently, the last few months have been finding ways to make use of ChatGPT. And some of my previous companies were in the education space and also in real-time messaging and collaboration. So I saw an opportunity to create a more collaborative real-time workspace for using ChatGPT within teams. That can be in company or even just, actually, we've got quite a few people from universities and such using it as well. So we'll do a demo in a second, but I'll just bring up the start page here. So the product we've built is called ChatORG, and the biggest difference is it's a real-time collaborative workspace for using ChatGPT, and it will include other models in the future. So it has a slightly familiar Notion Slack UI here.
Yep.
And one of the main things we wanted to solve is that I found chatting to people using ChatGPT in companies, there was usually one person who was, or maybe 2, who were really good at it and loved it and were trying to kind of get the rest of their team to use it. But it's kind of a bit more of a single player thing, right? And so we've built ChatORG really to allow you to create this shared team space so that the person who really gets ChatGPT and has put time into it and wants to bring it into their team or whole company or organization and group can really set it up with everything, assistance, prompts, customize it, and basically give everyone else in the team the tools and prompts they need to make really good use for it in their context. Because I find a lot of the time it's hard to kind of really know how to get the best out of ChatGPT, despite the Twitter threads about how to get the best out of ChatGPT. When you really want to use it in your specific workflow, you can end up having quite specific, like, customized prompts, right, that are within your team, especially as I'll show you when you get into things like marketing and things like that. You kind of might want to have specific language that you've asked it, and you want that repeatable throughout your whole team as well. So this is really what ChatORG is now. And the shared aspect and collaborative aspect is the most important part, and I'll show you how that works in a second.
That'd be great. Yeah, run us through it. Do you invite people? Can you create your own bots? Is there a marketplace?
Yeah.
Give us all of it.
Yeah, so I'll give you a quick demo now, and then I'll tell you what's in the future then.
Cool.
So probably one of the main differences here is you can invite your team members. They're all accessing the ChatGPT API, so everyone doesn't need their own ChatGPT OpenAI account to use it. And you can invite a bunch of different team members in here, and then everyone has access to the shared workspace. So at its core, the chats that you start, they'll start initially private. So this is just a normal ChatGPT conversation, like help me cook some salmon. I'll show you the chef one in a minute. So that's just a regular ChatGPT conversation here.
Yep.
Well, one of the differences here is we have a workspace chats area with shared folders. So I can make a recipes folder here. And then when I have a chat here, I can actually move that into my recipes folder. And now anyone else who's in this shared workspace will see that recipes folder. Now, if they go into this chat and we're both looking at the same chat, any one of us can send this message and we'll actually both see it in real time.
Very cool.
And we didn't invite you for this in particular, but if you were here as well, you could then reply and your avatar would show in the follow-up conversation. So this actually, a great example is, say you are doing, I think I've even got a multi-user one in here. Say you're doing something like title generation. I know it's only got me in it, but you could actually be in here together with someone else in your team. Someone comes up with one idea, someone sees that being generated, and then they post the next thing.
Yeah.
The difference is between this and say putting it in Slack is we have to get we have to control for some of the way ChatGPT works. So for example, when it's replying, no one can send a message until it's replied, and then one person is allowed to send, because obviously you can't just have a bunch of user messages. ChatGPT will only reply one at a time.
And so, Damien, how do you think about, I've seen, a slightly different paradigm, which is like you invoke the bot when you want its help, right? So it's like you and I are chatting, but when we do need some ideas for a title or something, we'd say like, hey, at ChatORG, blah, 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 blah. And so if I understand correctly, in this case, like every time you send a message, it's directed towards the chatbot, but anyone can sort of send a message to the chatbot. Is that the right way to think of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we do want to support that, person-to-person communication. And what we're thinking of doing is adding commenting within the replies.
Got it. Cool.
So that you could add a little comment to this, which is say, okay, this looks like the best one, or that's the best one.
Right. Yeah.
Reactions. And depending on the use case, I see a lot that, people use ChatGPT for the initial drafting and then want to take it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So we'll either add a document editor in, or we'll add in a copy to Google Docs or something similar.
Yep.
We've already got an export, but that's the whole conversation.
Yep.
But especially if you're actually writing a piece, a long article, and using that as your base, you could then copy that and go into Google Docs and then finalize it there.
Makes sense. So
there is a few use cases for the collaborativeness, apart from just being able to see what each other are doing and doing it in real time. It also, one of the other helpful things I think from an organization is just being able to see how everyone else is using it and see the best examples of how people have used it, and just have that kind of shared repository. If you imagine it's, sales team writing sales emails, someone can go in and see the most recently written one or a previous one.
Yeah. And Damien, are you, because that use case definitely came to mind, like in Slack, are you able to share a specific thread with like a link, right? So if we look at this one here, AI engineer, blah, 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 can I, share that with a teammate and say, hey, Damien, like you have to check out this reply. I think this is like a very cool use case of ChatGPT for us, or how would someone like go about sharing a specific?
Yeah. So we haven't turned on public sharing yet, because we've really focused on more on the within organization. And so obviously anyone who's in your organization, you can just copy that URL there.
Perfect. Got it. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
We'd like to add public sharing as well. Of course, ChatGPT has that. I think there'll just be lots more sharing happening. And I think the other thing, you might have just spotted it here while I was using this as well, is we've got this neat undo feature. I really like just kind of how simple this is. So anyone can click that and go back in time, and then the prompt that you'd previously put in is in the text box, and you can edit and try again. So you can go a few steps down and a few steps back, and it's kind of really easy to retry.
Yeah, super cool.
So that's the core of it, is the collaboration. And then one of the other big things people want is to be able to save those really good prompts and share them with each other. Yeah. So we give you a preset library of prompts to discover. Yep. And we're updating these all the time. So there's a bunch, we kind of just keep an eye out for really impressive prompts and put them in here.
Very cool.
But if you go into your workspace prompts, these are your prompts. So, for example, I've got a prompt here, which is a Twitter thread prompt. It's pretty simple. It says, take this article and turn it into a Twitter thread.
Yep.
And we've got this neat variables feature here, which I'll show you. So anything you put in curly braces gets taken out and put into a form that you fill in at the start. So we go ahead and use this prompt here. And I think I've got some Latticework copy here, haven't I?
Cool.
Somewhere here. Here we go. So if I have multiple variables, I'll have multiple input boxes to fill in here.
Yeah.
Then when I click next, then this is the final prompt. So you can imagine if you've got, again, a sales email with who's it for, what's the intent, things like that. You can do a whole quite complex prompt. You're not copying and selecting and pasting in your edits there.
Yeah.
And that's definitely one of the kind of key ways that people share the kind of one-off use cases where it is a consistent thing you want to do, like create a Twitter thread.
Yeah.
And obviously all those are shared with everyone.
Yeah.
And then the second thing we've done is built something called Assistants, which it's, I think, going to keep growing in power as time goes on, and is really a way to have a consistent style prompt. And we'll use that for the kind of more, team focused, subject area focused use cases. So for example, we have put a lot of kind of fun ones in here, but there's ones like a full stack developer one, right? So that's the agent that you might go to when you've got general programming questions. The prompt ones we've got, like debug my code or explain my code.
And then how do you, if I were to be an admin in this case, could I create these own assistants myself, and then there's just like an embedding that I need to create for each one, or can you create one quickly for us just to see what that looks like? Cool.
So what should we make?
Yeah, that's great.
Mongobot. I hadn't thought of doing that yet.
That's perfect. Yeah.
I don't know what the result will be. Can't find a good. Well, I don't know if you've ever seen him wear something like that. So you get to set a prompt there, and that's set as the system prompt.
Understood.
These are, we're developing these, and we want to make them more powerful. And one of the other things you can do is you can set the model here. And actually, as a little tangent, one of the directions we're taking this is going beyond the OpenAI models, because there's some really great open source models coming into fruition now, which is going to allow even more personalization and fine-tuning at the model level, and also privacy. I'll tell you in a bit how that's going to connect with data as well. So so now I've got a little bot here, and I can put it in and then I can put it in my sidebar, and then other people can put it in their sidebar. So this is now our workspace assistants, which
very cool. Very cool. And Damien, I can imagine just thinking of like organizations and stuff having like an onboarding assistant or something, right, for new employees, and just be like, whatever resources somebody needs to see or whatever people they need to talk to, just kind of a step-by-step guide to help get started. I mean, that onboarding for someone new is always so tricky.
And again, with the kind of specific organizational customization you might want, like your brand tone, or and so then coming on to the privacy and the data, the next major feature we'll be releasing is connecting your organization data. And so that's when the assistants will get a lot more powerful.
Yeah.
So when you go in, create an assistant, you'll be able to connect it to your Google Drive, your Dropbox, all the places where you know, your Notion, where your organization has data.
Yeah.
And then that assistant will be able to call on those repositories when it answers questions.
Yeah.
And I think that'll open up a huge amount of use cases for people in organizations, whether it's just kind of finding, you know, day-to-day things like, where's this contract, or have we done this with this customer?
Yeah.
You can put in, you know, your whole organization's knowledge base basically in there and call on it.
Super cool.
And then, you know, because it will reference where it's got that information from, you know, you can then just click and open up that Google Drive PDF and verify the answers it's given you if you need it to.
Very cool.
And longer term, we want to connect your data and then also provide open source deployments of open source private assistants. I think that will allow people to have assistants which are really good at the specific tasks they need, because the open source assistants are customizable. So if you have a huge repository of information, let's say it's financial data, ChatGPT is great, but it sometimes gets math wrong, or it is not great at kind of dealing with big tables of numbers. Well, if we take an open source assistant, we can then actually feed it your repository of, say, financial data, and use that to fine-tune the open source model to make it really good at that specific task of, say, querying and answering questions based on that financial data.
Yeah. David,
even though it might not be able to write poetry as well as ChatGPT,
sure,
if it can answer those specific questions your organization has better, I think it's going to be much more useful, especially then if you could also feel you can trust it a bit more than ChatGPT, because in some of the most demanding cases, like we saw recently in the news in legal and in finance, it's like the places where there's tons of data and it's really, really useful. So we just need to find a way to be able to make it more accurate and better at giving you the right answers.
Yeah, yeah. Damien, considering your kind of target audience, how did you think about, and if I'm on the wrong vector, tell me, but creating like a Slack plugin versus like a wholly different platform, like going to where like organizations already live versus, you know, trying to draw them here. Is that a question you dealt with? Am I thinking about it incorrectly? Or if you did think about it, why did you choose to kind of go the route you did?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think we want the ability to do more with the UI. I think the chat interface is just the easiest interface right now that works really well and is a great first step. But as we get more into not just text Q&A, but actually not just searching for information, but actually working with information and manipulating it.
Yeah.
Again, let's say it is financial data, or even, you know, we've written some content here, and I mentioned taking something into Google Docs. I'd like to be able to actually let you move between different types of interfaces for editing the text and working with AI agents like GPT.
Yeah.
So let's say we've just generated some content here. We could go into an editing mode where instead of following up with a conversation here, I could select this paragraph and then say, could you just rewrite this paragraph?
Yeah.
And then you'll just see that change in place. And likewise, if we've got financial information and we get a table out, what if we can then, you know, reorder the table or start, you know, asking for sums in the table and things like that. Yeah. So I think having although it is a different place, of course, and I think it does obviously take people out of Slack, which is, and, you know, add a new tool to the workflow. I think my hope is that UI we can build, the richness of the UI outweighs that.
Yeah, makes sense.
I
And
wouldn't be surprised if we added in a Slack
sure.
action in the future, right? But maybe that's just a convenience way for the chat interface, right?
Yeah, makes sense. On the discover prompts, be curious, are you thinking of that as a marketplace of sorts? Like if I could create a prompt and add it there, is it kind of, it's a free-for-all eventually, or like quality, quantity? How do you think about that?
I don't think I'd turn it into a marketplace in terms of there being any charge for it, but I'd like to make it one of the best repositories for prompts.
Yeah.
There is some impressive prompts that people have come up with.
Yeah.
And we've tried to kind of put a bunch of them in here. And there are so many different use cases. So I want to keep building this out to be a place for inspiration where you can start and then create your own prompts from there. One of the things we've thought about is actually helping you customize the workspace for your particular team, particular domain at the start. Because navigating the prompts or knowing which ones to try, if you're in, marketing, you might not care about all the other ones. So one of the things we've thought about is during the onboarding, you kind of say what department or what area you're in, and then we'll set it up with prompts and assistants, which are like, here's a great setup for using it for marketing and sharing that with your team.
Yeah. Really cool. On the collaboration front, is there a limit to how many people can be in the chat? Or is it, how well does it scale?
Yeah, it's built on Cloudflare, which I'm really happy about. And actually, we just became part of the Cloudflare launch pad cohort 2, which is great. So it's very scalable. Yeah. Super cool.
So you mentioned sort of experimenting and sort of building on more open source, bringing in data sets. What else does kind of V2 or whatever ChatORG is on now? What else is sort of in the near term roadmap?
Well, to be honest, there's a lot of work to get these open source models going, and just testing them. I think there's a lot of stuff we need to do behind the scenes to make sure that an open source model does what you want, and we can fine tune them effectively, because there's a lot of kind of challenges and solvable, right? Because they've been solved by OpenAI. Now they're, the means to do it is known and possible for everyone to do it, but there's a lot of workflow we have to get set up, and we want to really be able to kind of compare the open source model side by side with OpenAI, and work out, how do we take your organization's data and put it into a format which can train an open source model as well. That's another thing that we have to solve for different types of data. But the end product will be, and we're about to start playing with some of the first, literally yesterday, the first large open source model that is 100% open source and free for use was released. So I think we'll see a huge amount of community progress now that that's happened. It was really a terrific announcement, and of all places, it was the UAE Technology Institute which funded this new model and made it 100% open source, right? What an incredible story.
Yeah.
So we're going to start using that and see where we can fine tune it to and where we can get it to. But my expectation is that it's not just that it will be private and fine tuned for your data, but it also will be fast as well. And at some point soon, they'll even run locally as well. So I think then ChatORG can be the UI to all of these agents, but we want to get it, we can have it running on your your laptop and it's super fast,
Yeah, it's amazing.
then it is 100% private and super fast as well. That's really the goal that we want to work towards. I think we're going to see just a huge explosion in new models now that the open source community is really driving it forward.
Yeah.
And so I think it's gonna, this kind of phase where there's one or two centrally hosted models, it seems like it will not be like that for the long term. Which is really exciting, because it's not just that we can all use this technology, it's just that everyone can actually build off it as well.
Yeah, it's really inspiring. How do you think about human feedback sort of in this loop, right? Is there any way, whether it's today or sort of like this next phase that you're talking about, for someone in the company to say, hey, like either the model hallucinated or something was wrong, or this is actually a better answer or something? Like, is there any way to like get that feedback going?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we can do that's going to be really valuable for organizations. So what we're planning to do is add the ability to flag a reply, and then also add comments alongside that flag. And then we'll save that in a database of flagged replies. And then if anyone else asks a similar question and gets a similar reply, we can then match that as previously flagged and say, hey, this is not the correct answer to our document. Here's the corrected answer as well.
Yeah.
And I think then within an organization, you can build all those flag corrections basically, and then later on feed that back in to your own model fine tuning, so that when you update your model, it doesn't make that same mistake again.
Super cool. Yeah, Damien, what you're building is really interesting. What else should we cover? Anything else you want to make sure that we show or build or get across?
Yeah, well, I wanted to show you, I've got a little Easter egg as well.
All right.
Let me see if it actually just finished loading as we're speaking there. Here we go. I'm going to show you this. So we've also been just playing with ingesting your data. So before we did Google Drive, we've just been playing with website data. Yeah. So actually, I trained a Latticework bot on all of the Latticework content here. So I think it's got 228 pages from the
nice
archives, and you can answer questions, which is terrific. So I think we're going to release this actually, that people can embed it on their website, but then you'll be able to connect it with the assistants inside ChatORG, so you can pull in website data as well as Google Drive data. And
that's really cool.
And then as well as that, we're about to then connect with some existing public archives as well. So you'll be able to turn on the whole of Wikipedia. Yeah. And when you connect via, and it's an embeddings database that's used of say all of Wikipedia, it's much faster than the web browsing plugin that you use in OpenAI as well. So it's a much better experience when you just get the answer back instantly rather than waiting to browse.
Yeah, that's fascinating. How long did it take to ingest those 228 pages? Was it this morning you started it, or my morning?
Yeah, I think it takes about 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, that's remarkable though. That's amazing
to do. So yeah, what can we ask it? Worldly wisdom.
Great. Let's see what it comes up with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
So we've got to add this. We just literally got this working the end of last week. And one thing we need to add in is references. So it'll then say, hey, I got it from these pages. So you can then go up there.
Sure. And is this public facing, or is this more sort of on the back end right now?
This will be public facing on Monday.
Cool. All right.
And so when by the time you send this out, I imagine members will be able to see this website here.
Fantastic.
This is called UseChat.ai, built with all the same technology as well. So this is a fun little thing to be able to do with all the ChatORG technology. And longer term, we have some ideas about helping you put this inside your application as well, so that you can actually do things in a SaaS app or in a website with it, beyond just getting content. Yeah, I hope everyone finds this interesting. It goes without saying, it's all work in progress, right? We built ChatORG in an intense 4-week period, last month. So it's all very fresh, and it's going to evolve quickly. So I would really love to connect with people who are trying to, use ChatGPT inside their organization, or wanting to find interesting ways to do it, or have ideas about how to improve the collaboration and the user experience, and or have weird and interesting use cases where ChatGPT, regular doesn't quite work for them. I'm really keen to hear more about the different ideas and use cases people have. And I mean, a lot of the features, like the assistance feature, it came from some really great feedback about how to make using prompts easier. So that's, the roadmap is mainly driven by the feedback we're getting from everyone.
Yeah, amazing. Damien, what besides that, is there any other way I or the community can be helpful? Are you looking to hire a certain type of person, a certain type of exposure, or anything else useful? How else can we support you?
Yeah, I think just really connecting with people inside organizations.
Yeah.
And if you're just in a place where you're the ChatGPT person who wants to bring ChatGPT, and everyone's wondering, how do we do it? And the current position is, don't use chat.openai.com because of privacy, this and that.
Yeah.
I'd just love to come and chat to you and hear what the challenges are inside your organization. And yeah, learn about what the hurdles are for using ChatGPT in organization, both just like the collaboration, but also the privacy and, monitoring and audit and things like that, because I'd like to solve those. I think for many, like, ChatGPT is fun to use. It also just makes many mundane tasks extremely fun as well. So I think there's a ton of areas. I know members are in all sorts of different areas where, they're probably, know ChatGPT, they probably use it a bit, right? Know it's useful, but it's like, well, how do I just get everyone using it? I'd love to try and help them with that, and help make ChatORG the best product for using it inside teams.
Amazing. How do people find you? Email, Twitter, URL? What's the best place to get in touch?
Best thing is they can email me, Damien@chatorg.ai. But also, even if you email the support, it'll go to me as well. So any email address you find will hit me directly. For now, it's just me and my lead developer who've built the whole thing, but it's been great fun getting kind of hands-on and building again. And then my Twitter is DC Tanner, TANNER, and my personal site, Tanner, TANNER.me. And yeah, feel free to reach out over email or Twitter, and interested to chat to more people.
Great. Damien, thanks for taking the time, man. What you've built so quickly is fascinating. I appreciate you taking the time to show us.
Thanks for the opportunity. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, super fun. Thanks again.